Hey, I hope you're having a great week. I just wanted to give you a little update on what's going on in the church, and it's an exciting time. This past Sunday, we baptized 5 people, and celebrating with them of people who are becoming passionate followers of Jesus Christ. It's really hard for me to imagine and think that I've been here over 5 years and to see that God has blessed us in the way that He has. It's not unusual now for us to have close to 170 people in attendance on Sundays, and to think back that when we started, there were Sundays, many Sundays, when we only had 80 people. And so God has really blessed us, and we have just witnessed so many great things happening. And so now we're at a place in the life of our church where we have to begin to address some things. About a year ago, we started having roundtables. Everyone was invited to the roundtables. We had about 50 different people who showed up and were involved in the process of it. And so we started talking about, what is your dream for the church? What would you like to see in 5 years of the church to look like? And so everybody shared their dream, and it was just a wonderful thing to hear different people's perspective and what they wanted to see. And then we started talking about the challenges that we're going to face, because every church faces challenges. And we started talking about, what are the challenges we're going to face? And so we started writing them on the whiteboard. There were about 30, maybe 35 challenges. And then we took those challenges and categorized them into 7 categories, 7 things that we felt like were going to be our biggest challenges as we continue to move forward as a church. And so as you see on the screen, you see there are 7 challenges. The first one is the physical plant, the identity of the church, the leadership and development of disciples, staffing being one of those challenges, becoming more diverse in our approach and our ministries, prioritizing and time management, knowing when we should move and when we shouldn't, and how we should do things, and then also the finances. And we've made progress in a lot of these areas. We are becoming a church that is easier to lead people to become disciples of Christ, and what that means to help people to develop into leaders. The finances, we're moving in the right direction. God has blessed us. We're becoming more diverse as well. There's many of these areas that we're making progress. 2 of them are areas that we really need to focus on right now in the life of our church, and that is the physical plant and the identity of our church. So let's talk about the physical plant for a minute, because as Sunday we had a packed house, and we were right at 140 people, which is the 80% mark. And in the life of churches throughout America, the 80% mark is really the mark that most churches cannot. In fact, it's been proven over and over that you cannot grow beyond the 80% mark, not in today's culture. People are not going to sit shoulder to shoulder every Sunday and feel like there's no room for them to have a little bit of space to move around. And so we are at that 80% mark. We have been there for some time, and the church has been growing in this direction for a number of years. So we need to do something. There are several options. Number one is that we have looked at the option of adding on 30 feet to the fellowship hall. And what that would look like, it would allow us to grow to a place of about 350 to 400 people as far as the seating arrangement. But when we started looking at the prices of what that would cost, it was a little more than we thought we could handle. And so then we started looking at the idea, what if we took the sanctuary we're in right now, and we redo it and remodel it and turn it into a place that's a little bit bigger, and we would be able to hold more people. But then we found that if we did that, we're going to have to bring the whole building up to code, because it's about 63 years old. And so there's a lot of issues there, and then you're still dealing with an older space. So then we started talking about the idea of possibly having a brand new building. What if we built a brand new building, a sanctuary? And when you start building brand new buildings, you get into the millions of dollars. So that probably was not the best option. So then we started kicking around the idea, what if we took the fellowship hall that we have right now, and we turned it into the place that we would worship in? And so we started getting some contractors to come out and give us prices of what it would cost and how many people could we seat in the sanctuary. And after doing all the research and digging into it, we feel like that is the best avenue that we have, is to take the fellowship hall and to transform it into a place of worship. We talked about it in our roundtables just a couple weeks ago. Everybody was very excited about it. The board of directors very excited about the idea. And so we're looking at something that would look like this. This is a church that we went to, and they have the dimensions that are very close to what we're looking at in our fellowship hall. And so you see the stage, it's carpeted, the whole building is carpeted, then there's chairs throughout the seating arrangement. That's kind of what we're looking at, and we're wanting to turn it into a space that is looks like today's culture, but it's also a seating space that we can worship in that is nice and comfortable, and we'll be able to seat more people. And so we're looking at a seating chart that will probably seat about 265 to 270 people. Right now in the sanctuary we are in, we can seat 174 people. So we're looking at close to 100 more people that we would be able to seat in the fellowship hall. And also it would just allow us to have so many other things that we don't have now that would just make the services better. And so this is what we're looking at. It's very exciting to talk about and think that we'll be able to reach more people, because right now we are limited, and unless we do something, we are not going to be able to grow beyond where we're at now. So this is the best option we have. We're excited about it, and we feel like we can take this step, which will be the next step in the process for us as a church of growing and becoming healthy and vibrant. And it will bring us to a place where we could actually go to 2 services at some point. And so we feel like if we spend the money now, get to a place where we can worship in that arena, that area, then we can go to 2 services, which would bump us up close to about 500 people. And then we would be in a position we could talk about the next step and what our next step might be. Of course, this is not the only area that is a challenge for us. It is a big challenge, but there's also the identity. And so you can look at those 7 things again, and you see that the identity is second on the list. It is not in order of preference. It's just the way it's listed. But we do have an identity crisis. It's not necessarily something that has just happened over the last couple of years. It has been around for a number of years now. I know 40 years ago in Bartow County, there were only 32,000 people in the whole county. Today, there are over 100,000 people in the county. And so our county has changed a lot. Our community has changed a lot. And people are not aware of what First Congregational Methodist Church is. They're not aware of what First Church is. It's just confusing altogether. And on top of that, we have a guy who stopped and talked to me several years ago, and he said to me, he said, "Nathan," he said, "you are a First Congregational Methodist, aren't you?" And I said, "Yes, I am. I think." I was a little confused by the way he said it. And I said, we're a Congregational Methodist Church. And he said, "No, I mean a First Congregational Methodist, because your sign says you are First Congregational Methodist Church." And I said, "Well, that's our name, but I'm not sure what you mean." And he said, "Well, several years ago, many years ago in the 70s, there was a split in the Congregational Methodist Church. And during that split, there were people who walked away from the Congregational Methodist Church who became First Congregational Methodist. And so we obviously have been around for about 63 years, and somewhere in the beginning we changed our name to First Congregational Methodist, but we're really not the denomination First Congregational Methodist. We're actually Congregational Methodist, but our name says we are First Congregational Methodist. So there's confusion there, and so there's so many different angles that we could take on this and being confused. I've lived in the community for 5 years, and I've invited a lot of people to church. And every time I invite someone, I feel like I have to explain who we are and where we're at, and try to work through all of the confusion. And what I would like to do, just like you, is to be able to say, "Hey, would you come with me to blank church?" And they would know where it's at, and there wouldn't be any confusion on which church that is. And so that's why we're walking through this process, because when we move over to the fellowship hall and we have a new place that we're worshiping in, it would be ideal to go ahead and address the issue of our identity, because we do have an identity problem. And it's not just us. There are churches throughout our denomination who have done the same thing that we are doing right now. The First Congregational Methodist Church in Jackson, Mississippi was doing well at one time, but they decided that they were going to move their facility to another location. They were a growing church, and they also decided that they needed to change the name of their church to match the community that they were moving to. And so they changed their name from First Congregational Methodist Church of Jackson to Lakeshore Church. And that's what they're known as now, Lakeshore Church. And they're one of the best, the healthiest churches in our denomination. They're thriving and doing very well. And they made a decision years ago to make that move, and it has been a very good one for them. And I know this is probably something that may not be the easiest to work through because the church has been here for 63 years. And I just want you to know, though, that when the church started 63 years ago, it was Douglas Street Independent Methodist Church. And so for several years, we were a church under Douglas Street's name. But now we are First Congregational Methodist because somewhere along the lines they decided to change the name as well as denomination. We are not changing denominations. That is not the issue here. We're just wanting to have a name that is simple and easy and memorable, something that you can tell people about where you go to church and they're not confused on where to go. I had one guy tell me that he invited someone to come to church with him, and they said they were going to come, and he saw them a week later, and they said to him, hey, we came to church and we didn't see you though. Where were you at? And he said, well, I was there. I don't know how I missed you. And they said, well, we went to your church. It's down there close to Dolphin Ferry, isn't it? Down in south of town. And he said, no, that's not where I go to church. It's First Church on Tennessee Street. And so there was confusion, and that happens a lot. And so I just want to encourage you and remind you of why we're doing this and what's going on around it. My desire is to lead people to become passionate followers of Jesus Christ. And I know that's your desire. And so I just want to encourage you to work through this process with us. Over the next few weeks, we want you to get involved in the renaming of the church and help us. So if you could be thinking about what you would like for the church to be named, and you could take and fill out a piece of paper on Sunday, drop it in the suggestion box. We have a great team of people working together, leading this charge on renaming the church, and they're made up of people who have been involved in the church for years, who have grown up in this church, who love the church, who are helping the church to continue to move forward. And so I just wanted to go over a few of those things and just make you aware of what's going on, why we're doing it. And I'm just excited about it. I'm excited about where we're at as a church. I'm excited about where God's going to take us. And I believe with all of my heart that God is leading us in this direction. And I just pray that we will be together, united, trusting Him to do what only He can do. And so thank you for checking out this video. Thank you for being a part of the process. Have a great week, and we'll see you on Sunday.